fans after such a long time away.
Yeah, it was great to see them. For me, it's been a long time to see the great Cowboys nation. They're loud. It's good to see them. Brought some energy for us, and it's good to be back. Productive camp. We still got a lot of work to do, but I think it provided a little bit of spark for our football team.
The crowd seemed like it was quiet for a while, and then you made a play, and you
Yeah.
could hear the cheers immediately.
Yeah, it was neat. That's sometimes you get out there in the practice, you're in the grind of things, you forget that the fans are there. And
now that you've got that experience behind you, being in a game and making that catch, what is this last 2.5 weeks or whatever they've got left? What are you focusing on to be ready for September?
Yeah, I think, as I said after the game, I feel like I'm on schedule, at this point, but just continue to tighten it up. I think all the little things that allow you to be successful. You've kind of the big hurdles going back to March, getting in shape, getting your body to respond, doing it day after day after day. Now, the challenge is, just doing it at the level. Every step, the 6 inches, the route, being on the same page with Dak, all those things, just tighten them up. And that's my focus personally, so that when you get out there Sunday night against the Giants, you're just kind of cutting it loose, And so laid a good foundation, I feel like, and now it's like you got to go to that next step, and I think that's our entire team's focus, and certainly mine.
Do you think you need to play one more preseason game, or do you think you're just ready to go for New York?
Whatever they think is best. I certainly feel like every opportunity you get more practice reps. For me personally, I've always liked those reps. The only way you can, play a game-like situation is be in a game, or approach practice that way. And I think Jason does a good job of having situations in practice that are like a game-like, putting the ball down and playing it out. But it's great to go against somebody else, and for all of us, no matter how many years you have in this league, there's nothing like game experience. So I'm fired up to play, and I feel like the third game's always been historically a game that you get a little bit more playing time. Be another step for us before we get to the Giants.
After you played in Hawaii, did your body feel the same? It's been a while for you.
Yeah, it felt good. Get the uniform on, get taped up, and lace them up. Just felt like old times again, And even though you got a little bit of jitters and you're anxious, you want to go prove it, you get back out there, it's the same things that allow you to be successful. I've said a long time, secret's in the dirt, and it really is. The things that allow you to be successful are those fundamentals, techniques, and allowing your brain to process information quickly, and you can trust that. So, it's not perfect. There's still another level you can go to, but I feel like I'm right on schedule.
A little Monday Night Football broadcast last night that I tuned into. I just wondering if you happened to tune in at all, and what kind of goes through your mind knowing that not too long ago you were in the booth, now you're the guy that they're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I got to see it for a couple minutes last night, in between putting my kids to bed after the first day of school. So I was able to kind of catch a minute of it. No place I'd rather be than where I'm at right now, and doing what I love, and got a hell of a challenge on my hands, and feel like I can help this football team win some games in some way. And so, but I'm better because of that experience. There's no question about it.
You talked about a real feeling because at this time last year you were.
Yeah.
Saying you're in the booth,
yeah.
And now you're with us.
Yeah, look, I think there's not a perfect roadmap. You go on. Sometimes there's bumps in the road. Sometimes it's a windy road, and I'm just appreciative of this opportunity. And I think. Have an opportunity to do what you love, and the challenge of getting yourself to be productive, and not just, it's kind of the veteran player that kind of brings a good. Forget that. You want every player to be that way. The culture is built on good guys that work hard and are committed to doing the right things, but you also want to be good, and help the team be productive. And so that's the challenge for me, and you make that decision a year ago, and you live with it, and just fortunate to have an opportunity to get back. And I know this is not going to last forever, and just definitely doing all the little things that allow me to get myself ready to play. And when nobody's seeing it, all the work day in and day out, trainers and strength staff to be productive. And I feel confident. I wouldn't bet against my ability to do it, but I still got to go prove that. I know that.
You talked about the next step. I think you said cutting it loose, basically. That's the
Yeah.
next thing. Well, what's cutting it loose exactly?
Well, I think there's kind of a process in training camp. You're working on technique, you're working on communicating with new guys, getting your feet back underneath you, and then there's like you're just playing football. You know, it's back to, I think the best football players are able to, they kind of have the answers to the test before the test is presented, you know, and they can play fast. They're anticipating, they're trusting. I mean, the footwork and the fundamentals, that's kind of just second nature, you know, and I'm just trying to, that muscle memory, get all that back so that Sunday night I can have an advantage.
You guys as a team, when you get back here, familiar surroundings, long camp, do you have to guard against any kind of letdown?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think that's the leader's job. I mean, you come, you're sleeping in your own bed. You know, there's a lot of other stuff going on, you know, away from just eat, sleep, and drink football, you know. So I feel like, you know, the best teams I've been on, yeah, they've had good training camps, but then they're able to kind of come back, and that 2-week period, they're able to take another step as they get ready for the first game, you know. And what does that look like? It's kind of hard to describe, but I just think there's a focus on how you want to play. So, you know, we've done some good things, but, you know, every team in the league is practicing right now, you know, so you just can't just kind of go through those motions. You got to have like an approach of constant improvement so that when Sunday comes, you feel like you're really ready. You know, it's all moving towards that, and you know, there's a big puzzle to all that. You know, and some of those contracts and all that kind of stuff. As you move towards getting ready, I mean, it goes from individually working on your individual stuff to the team coming together. I think next 2 weeks, that's what we're going to look at.
I know you guys try to let the other individuals around the locker room handle their own business.
Yeah.
Their own business. But is there a certain point at which you guys feel like, as some of the leaders in this locker room, that Zeke needs to be here to be ready for week 1?
Oh, I mean, for sure. I mean, you know, any player, as you get prepared for the season, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, Zeke's extremely talented. He's the best running back in football. He's smart. He's got great instincts. But there's no training like being in a practice. You know, it's what I was saying about live reps, going against a real opponent. So, I mean, the closer it gets, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's more urgency that you hope he gets back. I don't know that's to that point right now, but, you know, you also trust that he's going to do everything he can to get himself ready. You know, he didn't play in a lot of games in the preseason, so a lot of that work comes in practice. And, you know, that's a position it's very instinctive, but I think, you know, you hope it's sooner rather than later. I mean, that goes without, you know, question for sure. But, you know, I think this team does a good job of, like, understanding you're still kind of building towards getting ready for the season, and know that, yeah, he's a huge part of this team, but, you know, you feel confident whatever that is when he gets in here, you know, they'll do the right thing to get him up and running.
What do you like about what you've seen from Tony Pollard?
Oh, man, I think, first off, I mean, he's very gifted as a player. I mean, he's got really good feel. You know, he can hit the hole, and he's got a good burst. He's a great athlete. He can do it as a receiver. I mean, we kind of saw some of that stuff coming out of college. But, you know, I look at a rookie as just, when you give him, put a lot on his plate, can he process it and handle it? You know, and if he makes a mistake, does he not make that again? And does he understand why the coaches are asking him to do something? And, I mean, he's just been as good as I've seen in my career of, like, a young player coming in and then putting more responsibility or trying some different things with him. And he's done a great job of it, you know. Great kid. He's got good personality. He's confident but not cocky, you know, and he works his tail off. So, I mean, very rare to see a running back come in and have those receiver traits that he does. And, you know, if you want to use somebody like that, as, you know, this coaching staff's trying to do, you know, his ability to adapt and kind of understand landmarks and coverages and protections, that all helps his chances, you know. And so you put a lot on a young rookie's plate, and he seems to respond.
With the possibilities with him, Gallup going in the second year, you coming
Yeah.
back, Travis being back here, just
Yeah.
what do you think are the possibilities for this offense with all the weapons you guys have?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, we feel like obviously our expectations are really high for what this offense can be. You know, and one of the things I've found running this offense and being a part of this offense is that, like, you can attack a lot of different ways, you know, and sometimes that's, you know, running them out of the gym, so to speak, and going for 30 carries for 200-plus yards. There's other times you use the passing game to attack. And that's what I liked about, you know, that drive last week was just, like, there was some good runs in there. There was some good passing game, short, intermediate stuff, but then some deep balls. So it's like you always just felt like we were in control. Even though that wasn't, you know, we had a couple third downs, we had a sack, we backed up. And that's what the best offenses do. And so I think that goes to those weapons and getting some key pieces back. You know, Travis up front, kind of leader of that group.
The same kind of question in the larger view of the entire roster, assuming for a minute Zeke is eventually back.
Yeah.
How does this roster compare to some of the better ones you've seen around here?
Well, you know, I mean, every roster is different, and I think there's different systems, so it's hard to compare roster spots for, you know, one to another. But, I mean, the way I look at it is just there's plenty enough to be successful and accomplish all our goals, you know, and how there's other teams that got good rosters too, you know, and you look at that, but just individual matchups, you think, all right, we go into this, these guys have skill sets that we should be successful, you know, and that's why I think, you know, expectations are high for our offense and get tested by a good defense every day. And so, yeah, I mean, just looking around, you're like, all right, those are some key pieces that, you know, kind of when you're just on air or just looking on paper, it's like, all right, those things look pretty good, you know, so got to take it to the field. When you have adversity, how do you respond? All those things play into it, and you got to stay healthy. But yeah, it's a really talented roster.
And how do you keep the expectations up there as long as Zeke isn't here?
Well, I think you just got to, you know, you got to do it different ways. You know, I mean, obviously Tony showed a lot of talent and that he can play. You know, there's different guys that have to step up and an opportunity. But I mean, my gosh, I mean, look what he's done in his time in the NFL. I mean, some of that he's a dominant player, and you're not the same when somebody like that's not on the field. But you know, no excuses, and you got to go find different ways to do it. I'm sure if we get to that point, you know, the coaching staff will adjust to it. But I really think, you know, Jerry and Steve and Will, they've done a great job with kind of building that roster of young, middle of the careers, prime of their careers, and veteran players that, like, it kind of fits. It's a nice little mold, both offensively and defensively.